Oh my God! I like him though. And I don't care who he's dating. I always had a crush on him.
What Blu Cantrell kept hidden about JayZ might flip everything you thought you knew about both of them. This isn't just another rumor. This could change music history forever. This is my call to Blu. It's time to step back into the spotlight. Because for years, the streets have whispered about something deeper. A secret love affair, a pregnancy that never made headlines, and a forced silence that wasn't her choice. But what really went down? Did someone make sure Blu vanished just to protect the Carter dynasty? And here's the wildest part. Could it be that Blue Ivy, the superstar daughter of JayZ and Beyoncé, wasn't actually Beyoncé's biological child? Could Blu Cantrell be the one who gave birth to her? Yeah, it's that deep. We're diving straight into one of the most jaw-dropping and twisted theories to ever hit the music scene. And once you hear all of this, the name Blu might never sound the same again. Blu Cantrell wasn't some random name before all the drama. Back when she was Tiffany Cobb, she had it all. Powerhouse vocals, the looks, and serious backing from the industry's biggest players. She wasn't waiting in the wings, she was built for stardom. Before everything spiraled, Blu was hustling hard in the background, singing for major artists like Diddy. Then in 2001, everything changed. She dropped her debut album, So Blue, and it lit up the charts. Her single, Hit 'Em Up Style, Oops, was everywhere. She wasn't just winning, she was taking over. Blu was climbing fast, and the world was watching, until suddenly, she disappeared. Her debut album didn't just hit, it exploded. In just 2 weeks, So Blue went gold, shot up the Billboard 200, and bagged 2 Grammy nominations. Blu Cantrell was on fire, booking big interviews, locking down tour deals, and standing shoulder to shoulder with stars like Ashanti, Mia, and Monica. She was that girl. But just when she should have been reaching the top, something started to feel off. And no, it wasn't bad music or flopped sales, it was JayZ. Word started slipping through the cracks that Blu was getting real close to him. Insiders in the industry claimed it wasn't just small talk. They had a spark. Folks were spotting them at exclusive events, on fancy getaways, and even behind closed doors at private parties hosted by big names like Diddy. Then came the whispers. Were they more than just friends? Wendy Williams even pressed Blu live on air, asking straight up if she'd ever kissed JayZ. Blu didn't say yes, but she didn't say no either. She just giggled, dodged the question, and flashed a sly little smirk that said way too much without saying a word. That moment, it shook things up. Blu didn't need to confirm anything. The silence spoke louder than words. Suddenly, the press couldn't get enough of the mystery. Instead of ending the chatter, she made it even louder. And here's where it gets real complicated. Because right around that time, Beyoncé was breaking out solo. If the rumors hold any truth, JayZ was caught between 2 powerhouses, Blu, the fearless, fiery voice, and Beyoncé, the younger, media-savvy queen in the making. During her now legendary Wendy Williams interview, Blu didn't just stir the pot. She tipped it over. She threw serious shade, hinting that JayZ didn't pick Beyoncé for her talent, but because she was younger and easier to control. That comment? It didn't just sting, it cracked open a deeper truth. Back then, folks waved it off as jealousy. But looking back, it sounds like a woman sending out a distress signal. Someone who felt used, pushed aside, and left with nothing. Blu wasn't quiet about how she felt either. She flat out accused Beyoncé of stealing her style, her swag, her look, her sound. Blu claimed it all got jacked. And then, just like that, her career started crumbling. Bookings dried up. Her contract with Arista, gone with no explanation. She stopped getting airplay, and her name faded from the charts like she never existed. In just a few months, the girl who had the world watching vanished. Was it all just bad luck? Or did somebody shut the door on her? On purpose? Ask Jaguar Wright, a fellow artist who's been vocal about shady moves in the industry. She said it loud and clear. Blu didn't disappear by accident. According to Jaguar, JayZ and Beyoncé blacklisted her, making sure she couldn't come back. And the name Blue Ivy? Jaguar believes that wasn't some innocent choice. She called it a calculated move. JayZ worked very hard to erase you and me, she said. By the time Blu tried to reclaim her space in 2013, the damage was done. She called herself a free agent, teased a 3rd album, but nothing dropped. No music, no videos, no hype, silence. Then, in 2014, everything went off the rails. Blu was found running barefoot through the streets of Santa Monica, screaming that someone was trying to gas her. She was rushed to the hospital for a psych evaluation, and within hours, the media had labeled her crazy. No one looked deeper, no one asked questions. Just like that, her story got buried under scandal, silence, and shame. But was that public meltdown in 2014 really a breakdown? Or was Blu Cantrell trying to break free from something way darker? Some say she was never supposed to survive. Because what if the wildest rumor out there is true? What if Blu Cantrell is actually the real mother of Blue Ivy Carter? Sounds like tabloid nonsense, until you start laying out the pieces. Once everything's on the table, it stops sounding crazy and starts looking suspiciously planned. Let's look at the timeline. Blu dropped her second album, then poof, gone. Her whole career screeched to a halt right after 2004. No more songs, no red carpets, no headlines. She didn't fade out, she vanished. Fast forward to 2012, and Beyoncé suddenly gives birth to a daughter named Blue Ivy Carter. You catch that? Blu disappears. And then years later, JayZ and Beyoncé named their baby Blue. That's no ordinary name. And fans definitely noticed. Why pick something so specific? Sure, some said JayZ just liked the color blue, but others weren't buying it. They believed it was personal, real personal, a subtle shout out to Blu Cantrell herself. And that theory doesn't stop there. It gets way darker. Some fans think Blu was silenced, that she either gave up her child under pressure, or worse, was forced to end a pregnancy. And then comes the part that made jaws drop. Beyoncé's own pregnancy timeline didn't help shut down the talk, it fueled it. Remember that infamous 2011 interview with Australia's Sunday Night? Beyoncé sat down in a tight dress, glowing as ever. But when she leaned forward, her stomach appeared to fold in a way that made people gasp. The internet exploded with claims that she was wearing a fake baby bump. That maybe, just maybe, she used a surrogate. All this, paired with Blu's sudden disappearance and years of silence, pushed fans into a frenzy. Was this just a twisted coincidence? Or was Blu Cantrell erased to make space for something or someone else? Now throw Blu Cantrell's sudden disappearance into the mix, and the whole story starts looking way too scripted. If Beyoncé really used a surrogate, then who carried the baby? Some believe it was Blu, and not by choice. The whispers say she was forced to stay silent and carry the weight, literally and emotionally. Jaguar Wright, who's earned a rep for exposing the industry's darkest secrets, didn't bite her tongue. She went straight for JayZ and Beyoncé. Jaguar claimed they wiped Blu off the map, used their influence to rewrite the past, shut down any threat to their image, and control every piece of the narrative. Even the name Blue Ivy, she called it intentional, a calculated move to take something that wasn't theirs and claim it forever. And it gets even more chilling. According to what Blu allegedly told close sources, when Beyoncé found out Blu was pregnant, she panicked. She didn't just shut her out, she allegedly went as far as trying to poison her. And that's not all. Blu reportedly said she was pressured to end the pregnancy. That's what broke her. Not the music industry, not the deals or contracts. It was betrayal. Fans now look back at Blu's 2014 breakdown, barefoot in Santa Monica, screaming that someone was trying to gas her. And they don't see crazy. They see a woman who was pushed to the edge, just like others before her. Britney, Martin Lawrence, Kanye, and Jaguar herself. There's a pattern. When someone knows too much or speaks too loudly, they get branded unstable and then wiped out. And suddenly, that wild theory about Blue Ivy doesn't seem so wild anymore. Even if you believe Beyoncé really gave birth to her, the silence, the secrecy, the NDAs, the tight image control, it all makes the unthinkable feel a little too possible. Now think about it, really think about it. If Blu Cantrell actually had a child with JayZ, what would that mean for Beyoncé's entire image? For the Carter brand? For their billion-dollar empire built on perfection, loyalty, and power couple goals? It would shatter everything. JayZ wouldn't just look like a cheater, he'd be exposed as a man who fathered a child with another woman and then allegedly buried the truth. Beyoncé? She'd be seen as more than complicit. Some would say she helped cover it up, or even rewrote history to keep her image spotless. And Blu Cantrell? She wouldn't just be a forgotten early 2000s R&B star. She'd suddenly become the missing piece in one of the biggest celebrity cover-ups of our time. the woman who almost brought the whole castle crashing down. But here's what makes it even more eerie. Blu never publicly claimed a child. No baby photos, no cryptic interviews, no name drops, just silence. Exactly the way they needed it. This wasn't a slow fade. Blu didn't slip into obscurity like other stars who ran out of hits. Her disappearance was sudden, abrupt. 1 minute she was charting hits, the next, gone. And when you start connecting the dots, the faces behind that vanishing act become a little too familiar. Let's rewind to 2003. Blu dropped her second album, Bittersweet. It had strong tracks, killer vocals, and even snagged her another Grammy nod. She was still delivering the goods. But behind the scenes, everything was off. Arista Records barely promoted the project. Her tours got cut short without warning. It was like the machine just stopped backing her. Meanwhile, Beyoncé was being primed for total domination. She had the machine pushing her forward. Blu? She was getting iced out, quietly, strategically, and then her contract just wasn't renewed. Not because she lost her voice, but maybe because she knew too much. No warning, no explanation, just gone. Blu Cantrell vanished from the spotlight like someone flipped a switch, and people started asking questions. But then, the comparisons started rolling in, and the accusations followed. Blu didn't stay silent. She said Beyoncé wasn't just taking the shine, she was taking her style. Take Blu's music video for Roundup, a bold, Western-inspired visual loaded with striking fashion, dusty desert shots, and fierce storytelling. It was fresh, edgy, and unmistakably Blu. Then suddenly, bam! JayZ and Beyoncé dropped 2003 Bonnie and Clyde. And guess what? That video? Same desert backdrop, same Wild West themes, same moody cinematic flair. Fans couldn't help but notice. Blu wasn't imagining it. The vibes were too close. Then came the Sean Paul drama. Blu had one of her biggest hits with Breathe, featuring Sean Paul, a track that dominated the charts with its smooth Caribbean rhythm and catchy hook. Next thing you know, Beyoncé drops Baby Boy, also featuring Sean Paul. Same dancehall-inspired beat, same island energy. Blu couldn't believe it. Another mirror moment, and this time, it felt planned. To Blu, none of this looked like coincidence. It felt like Beyoncé had a blueprint, and Blu's name was all over it. But what made it sting worse? Beyoncé had JayZ behind her every move. Her visuals, crisp and cinematic. Her sound, polished to perfection. Her releases, timed like clockwork. Meanwhile, Blu's budgets got chopped, her promos vanished, and her name faded from conversations she helped start. And Blu, she didn't hold back. In one of her boldest moments, she called it out, straight up. In an interview with The Guardian, when asked about Beyoncé, Blu didn't play nice. She said loud and clear, "I'm an adult, no sugarcoating, no tiptoeing, just a woman tired of being erased. She's younger, and if she's doing what you're saying, then she's being a little immature. If she goes there with me, it's the wrong move." That's what Blu Cantrell said, point blank. And she didn't stop there. If you have issues with your man, address it with him. Don't take it out on the girl. To fans watching from the sidelines, the message was loud and clear. Blu was done playing polite. She wasn't just calling Beyoncé out, she was holding JayZ accountable too. But almost like clockwork, right after that interview, Blu vanished again. No third album, no tour, no singles, just silence. The timing? Way too perfect to be random. Jaguar Wright säger att det inte är en tillfällighet. Det är ett mönster. The former neo-soul singer-turned-industry whistleblower has called this exact situation out over and over again. She calls it strategic erasure. According to her, when artists start asking the wrong questions or refuse to play the game, they don't just get ignored, they get erased. And she believes that's exactly what happened to Blu. JayZ worked very hard to erase you, Jaguar has said. This wasn't just about music or friendly competition. This was about control. Because if Blu and JayZ really had a thing, maybe even a pregnancy, then pushing Blu out wasn't about topping charts. It was about hiding a story that could shake the foundation of the Carter Empire. And this pattern? It doesn't stop with Blu. Look at other women in R&B who were shining bright before Beyoncé's solo era exploded. Mia went from stadiums and awards to the indie scene. Monica, who once ruled the charts, stopped getting mainstream push. And then there was Aaliyah, on her way to becoming a true crossover star in both music and movies, until her tragic death in a 2001 plane crash. That same year, Destiny's Child was leveling up. One by one, those voices either got quiet or were silenced. Some fans and even insiders are convinced this wasn't just bad luck, it was systemic. By 2004, JayZ had climbed to one of the most powerful positions in the industry, president of Def Jam. That's a seat of real influence. And guess what? That's the same time Blu Cantrell's contract just happened to be dropped. Coincidence? Not everyone thinks so. Blu later dropped a bomb. She revealed the lawyer she was told to trust during contract talks was also working for the label. Total conflict of interest. She was being played from both sides. "If I'd known," Blu said, "I would have gotten my own lawyer. That lawyer was working for them. They took what was mine. And what they took was everything. Her masters, her royalties, her voice in her own career. Blu didn't own her music, and she barely saw a dime from the hits she gave the world. When she tried to push back, doors slammed shut. She was left alone, blacklisted, and voiceless. And then came the collapse. By 2014, Blu had been missing from the scene for years. No album, no shows, barely a whisper of her name in the music world. The same fans who once saw her ruling the charts were left wondering, where did she go? Then, out of nowhere, headlines. But not for music, not for a comeback. No celebration, just chaos. She was found at 2 a.m., barefoot, sprinting through the streets of Santa Monica, screaming that someone was trying to poison her with gas. Police picked her up and took her in for a psych evaluation. In an instant, Blu wasn't a star, she was a headline, a punchline. Another crazy artist fallen off the deep end. The media swarmed. Words like unstable, unhinged, and washed up filled the press, but some fans weren't buying it. To them, this looked too familiar. Because we've seen this before. In 1996, Martin Lawrence was found wandering LA traffic in nearly the exact same way. He also claimed someone was trying to harm him. And like Blu, the media didn't ask questions. They just labeled him crazy and moved on. Same script, different name. Martin Lawrence was found waving his arms, yelling that people were trying to kill him. Kanye West? In 2016, he was forcibly hospitalized. Right after stepping on stage and calling out Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and the so-called elite pulling the strings in the music game, and Britney Spears, the world watched her spiral after years of being controlled, silenced, and gaslit under the guise of legal protection. Notice the pattern? Every time a celebrity dares to speak out, or even becomes inconvenient, there's already a story ready to spin. They've lost it. They're unstable. They're crazy. Blu Cantrell's story followed that script to the letter. But here's the twist. She didn't stay silent forever. Later on, Blu began to open up, and what she said turned her 2014 meltdown into something way more chilling. According to Blu, what happened in Santa Monica wasn't some breakdown. It was a reaction to trauma, the kind of trauma she was never allowed to talk about. She said the industry didn't just forget her, it erased her. And not just with silence, but betrayal. She claimed that the same people who promised to protect her career turned on her. And it started with her lawyer, the one she trusted to help her fight for her rights during her contract with Arista. That lawyer, Blu says, was secretly working for the label and for Jay-Z's team. They were all working together to take what was mine, she revealed. No loyalty, no fairness, just setup after setup. But here's the most explosive part. Blu claimed that someone actually tried to poison her using gas. That infamous barefoot night in Santa Monica? She said it wasn't a mental breakdown. It was a desperate escape. She was running for her life. Now, yeah, these claims are hard to prove, but Blu isn't alone. She's not the only one whose career crashed under strange circumstances. Take Tyra Mari, once hyped as the next big thing under Jay-Z's Rockefeller empire. She had the look, the sound, the backing, and then nothing. Insiders say Beyoncé allegedly found out Tyra was getting too close to Jay-Z, and just like that, her momentum vanished. Project scrapped, buzz gone. The pattern? It's too consistent to ignore. There was one blind item that lit up the rumor mill. Beyoncé allegedly sent word to every top music exec. No record deals for Tyra Marie. And if anyone dared to cross that line, insiders say they got a visit and a serious warning. Whether that's true or not, the whispers haven't stopped. And then there's Kathy White, another woman rumored to have been involved with JayZ. The talk wasn't just about romance. It was about a baby. Word on the street was that she was pregnant and ready to go public with everything. But the day before she was allegedly set to reveal the truth, she was found dead. The case closed fast. No big investigation, no follow-up questions. But over the years, the whispers got louder. And this time, they weren't just about JayZ. Some fingers pointed at Beyoncé. Some believe Kathy was silenced before she could speak. And in that light, Blu Cantrell's 2014 breakdown hits differently. It doesn't look like a meltdown anymore. It looks like the final scream of a woman who had been forced into silence for way too long. By then, Blu had no label, no legal protection, no big-time team backing her up. She was painted as mentally unstable, and the industry just swept her under the rug, like she'd never mattered, like she'd never had a voice. And Blu wasn't alone. As Beyoncé rose, other powerful R&B voices started going quiet. Not gradually, but all of a sudden. One by one, they disappeared without explanation. Take Mia. In the late 90s and early 2000s, she was everywhere. Grammy-winning features, major label albums, even collaborations with JayZ himself. Her sound was fresh, her image was tight, and the world knew her name. But right when Beyoncé stepped out from Destiny's Child and began her solo reign, Mia's mainstream buzz faded. She got pushed toward indie labels. Her music stopped getting proper distribution. She was still grinding, still making music, but the spotlight had shifted and she was left in the shadows. Too many disappearances, too many coincidences. And when you line them up side by side, the story starts to tell itself. In the end, Mia was left to hustle on her own. Years later, she hinted at the truth. She felt blackballed. She had to rebuild everything from the ground up after the industry, once behind her, suddenly turned cold. And she's not the only one. Then there's Aaliyah. Before Beyoncé claimed the throne, Aaliyah was already wearing the crown. She wasn't just a rising star. She was the future of R&B and pop. She had already stepped into Hollywood, locking down major film roles, developing new music, and stealing every red carpet she touched. She was it. But in 2001, tragedy struck. Aaliyah died in a devastating plane crash. It happened right as Destiny's Child was reaching its final peak, and Beyoncé was being lined up for solo superstardom. And for some fans, that timing has always felt too convenient. Not in a conspiracy theory kind of way, but from a cultural lens. Aaliyah was the only artist in Beyoncé's lane, the only one with the look, the sound, the global appeal to match her. And after she was gone, the road was clear. Which brings us back to Blu Cantrell. What if Blu wasn't just a one-off? What if her story was the opening chapter in a much bigger, darker playbook? A test case, a warning shot, a woman with the voice, the heat, the connections, and then suddenly, nothing. Silenced, scrubbed out. The music industry has a history of building up its stars and tearing down the ones who step out of line. And now, the silence is starting to crack. Whistleblowers like Jaguar Wright are speaking up. Blu's old interviews, once buried, are resurfacing. Documents and contracts that were once hidden are slipping into the light. And fans? They remember. Because if Blu Cantrell was truly erased, then who's next? Anyway, that's a wrap on this one. Stay sharp.